Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I never thought a single sentence could redraw the shape of my life, but it did. It happened at a company networking dinner, the kind with bad wine, forced smiles, and conversations that drift nowhere. I was standing beside Elizabeth, my girlfriend of 3 years, listening to someone from marketing brag about his startup. When he asked how we knew each other, Elizabeth smiled politely and said, "Oh, we're just friends. We work in the same industry." Just friends. Not my partner. Not my boyfriend. Not even someone she was seeing. I felt immediately, like a quiet crack spreading through glass. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't correct her. I just stood there, nodding, my hand slowly dropping from the small of her back where it had been resting seconds earlier. The conversation moved on, but I wasn't part of it anymore. I was busy replaying her words, trying to understand how someone you share a bed with can erase you so casually in public. Elizabeth noticed my silence later in the car. She asked if I was tired. I said I was fine. That's what I always said. I'd learned over time that pressing her on uncomfortable moments only led to defensiveness, jokes, or accusations of being too intense. So I swallowed it. Again, if this feels familiar to you, press like so this story reaches the people who need to hear it. Silence has a way of spreading when no one talks about it. I'm James. I'm 38. I work in operations for a logistics firm. Long hours, decent pay, nothing flashy. Elizabeth is 35, sharp, ambitious, the kind of woman people describe as impressive before they describe her as kind. When we met, that edge attracted me. She seemed confident, self-possessed, certain of who she was. I thought standing beside someone like that would make me stronger. For a while it did. We traveled. We hosted dinners. We talked about buying a place together someday. But slowly, almost invisibly, I started shrinking in her presence. She made decisions without me. She introduced me differently depending on the room. Around her friends, I was James. Around her co-workers, I was someone she knew. Alone, she said she loved me, but it always felt like a private truth she didn't want audited. After the dinner, I finally brought it up, not angrily, carefully. I told her it hurt to hear her call me just a friend. She laughed, not unkindly, but dismissively. "You're overthinking it," she said. "Labels make things messy. You know what we are." I did know what we were. I just didn't know why she was afraid to say it out loud. Weeks passed, then months. The pattern repeated itself. Dinners, parties, introductions that sidestep commitment. Each time, I felt a little more invisible. Each time, I told myself not to make a big deal out of it. Real men don't need validation, right? That's what I told myself while lying awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd become optional in my own relationship. One night, after she posted photos from an event we attended together, tagging everyone except me, I finally said something sharper. I asked her why she hid me. She rolled her eyes. "No one's hiding you, James. You're being dramatic." That word stuck with me. Dramatic, as if wanting to be acknowledged was a flaw. If you've ever been told you're too much for asking for basic respect, comment scene below. I read everyone. I started paying attention after that, not to her words, but to her actions. How she kept her phone face down. How she never corrected people when they assumed she was single. How she enjoyed the freedom of being unattached without giving up the comfort of having me there. I realized I was convenient, reliable, safe, but not something she wanted to claim. The night everything shifted, we were at a small birthday gathering for one of her colleagues. A man I'd never met before wrapped an arm around Elizabeth for a photo. She leaned in easily. When he joked about her being the most eligible woman in the room, she laughed and didn't say no. I excused myself early. She didn't follow. Driving home alone, something settled in me. Not anger, not heartbreak, clarity. I understood then that I could stay quiet forever and still never be chosen. And for the first time, the thought of leaving didn't feel like loss. It felt like self-respect. Before moving on, share this story with someone who believes silence is safer than truth. Sometimes it isn't. That night, Elizabeth texted asking where I'd gone. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. And in that pause, I realized I was done explaining my worth to someone who benefited from pretending it didn't exist. Elizabeth didn't respond right away. That wasn't unusual. She liked control, like being the one who decided when conversations mattered. I went to bed alone that night. Not dramatically, not angrily, just aware that something had ended, even if neither of us had said it yet. In the morning, she showed up at my apartment unannounced, holding 2 coffees like a peace offering. She acted confused, almost offended, when I told her calmly that I was done. She said I was blowing things out of proportion, that introductions didn't mean anything, that I should know how she felt by now. I listened without interrupting. For once, I didn't feel the need to convince her of my reality. I simply told her that I wasn't interested in being someone's private option anymore. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. She tried a different tactic then. She softened. She said relationships didn't need labels to be real. She said commitment was a trap people set for themselves. I asked her a simple question. If labels didn't matter, why was she so determined to avoid them only when it came to me? She didn't answer. She just looked away, irritated that the conversation wasn't going her way. That's when I understood something important. Elizabeth didn't refuse to call me her partner because she was unsure. She refused because ambiguity served her. It let her take without declaring. It let her enjoy loyalty without offering it publicly in return. Walking away wasn't punishing her. It was correcting an imbalance I tolerated for too long. She accused me of giving ultimatums. I told her I wasn't asking her to change. I was changing my position. There's a difference. I walked her to the door. She hesitated, clearly expecting me to stop her, to negotiate, to chase. I didn't. The door closed quietly behind her, and the silence that followed felt honest, not empty. At this point in the story, I'm curious. Do you think James did the right thing, or should he have stayed longer? Share your perspective in the comments. Real discussion only. The weeks after were strange. Not lonely, just unfamiliar. I realized how much of my energy had gone into managing someone else's comfort at the expense of my own. Friends noticed a difference in me before I did. I slept better. I spoke more directly. I stopped explaining myself unnecessarily. Letting go of someone who minimized me didn't make me smaller. It gave me room. A month later, I ran into Elizabeth at a mutual friend's event. This time, she introduced me clearly. "This is James," she said, her voice careful. No label still, but something had shifted. She looked unsettled. I realized then that my absence had forced her to see what my presence used to quietly provide. Stability, attention, a safe place to land. But that window had closed. We spoke briefly, politely. She asked if we could talk sometime. I said no, not cruelly, just firmly. I told her I wasn't interested in revisiting something that only existed on her terms. She nodded, embarrassed, and walked away. I felt no triumph, just certainty. If this story resonated with you, type the word boundaries in the comments. Sometimes naming them is the first step to keeping them. I don't tell this story because I think Elizabeth was a villain. She wasn't. She was honest in her way. She showed me exactly how she saw me. I tell it because too many people stay in half relationships, hoping consistency will turn into commitment. It doesn't. It just teaches the other person what you'll accept. I learned that being chosen publicly matters, not for ego, but for alignment. If someone is proud to have you in private, but hesitant in public, pay attention. That hesitation is information. Don't argue with it. Don't chase clarity from someone who benefits from confusion. If you know someone stuck in a relationship where they're never fully claimed, consider sharing the story with them. It might say what they're struggling to articulate. Today, my life is quieter, simpler. I don't attend events where I have to guess who I am to the person beside me. When someone asks about my relationship status, I answer honestly. Single, peaceful, open to something real, or nothing at all. I'd rather walk alone than stand next to someone who pretends I'm not there. Before you go, like this story, comment with one lesson you took from James's experience. And subscribe if you want more stories about self-respect, boundaries, and quiet turning points. Sometimes the strongest endings don't make noise.